Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr wrapped up his exit interview on Friday with a message that could define much of what happens this offseason, and it wasn't subtle. In a frank and direct tone, Kerr made clear that the team's age problem has become impossible to ignore. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do. And honestly, the best way to back this content up, because every single like pushes us further. So hit it now. We need some younger leg for sure, Kerr said, speaking candidly about the challenges a franchise faced throughout the 2025-26 season. He went further, acknowledging that the past couple years have been genuinely difficult because of the collective age across the roster. I think the last couple of years, frankly, have been difficult with the collective age of our team, the injuries, Kerr added. He pointed out that the Warriors had roughly 6 players this past season who either couldn't play in back-to-back games or were operating under minutes restrictions, and that those situations often overlapped at the same time. That a damaging admission from a coach who has won multiple championships and knows exactly what it takes to build a winning team. When 6 players simultaneously can't be relied upon for full availability, the entire rotation becomes fragile, depth evaporates, game plans get compromised, and the coaching staff is left making decisions based on who is healthy enough to play rather than who is the best option. Now, heading into the offseason, those words carry real weight. They are not just commentary, they are a blueprint. And when you look at the current roster construction, 2 names stand out as the most logical casualties of this inevitable youth movement. Seth Curry and Gary Payton II. Seth Curry is the easier case to make. The 35-year-old guard appeared in just 10 games this past season. That level of unavailability is simply not sustainable for a team trying to build a reliable rotation. With Jimmy Butler recovering from a torn ACL, and Moses Moody also expected to miss significant time early next season, Golden State genuinely cannot afford to allocate one of their 15 standard roster contracts to a player who showed that kind of injury fragility in 2025-26. The Warriors need players who can be counted on to suit up, contribute, and remain available throughout a long and demanding regular season. Seth Curry, at this stage of his career and with this recent history, does not fit that profile. The decision on Gary Payton II is more nuanced, and that's worth acknowledging. The 33-year-old had an encouraging year in terms of availability. He appeared in 73 games this past season, which was second on the entire roster. At the veteran minimum contract level, that kind of durability and production represents real value. He plays with intensity, defends with purpose, and understands the system. He is a fan favorite, and his connection with the franchise runs deep. But here is the uncomfortable reality the Warriors must confront. Payton's availability this past season was the exception, not the rule. In the 2022-23 season, he missed 60 games. The following year, 2023-24, he missed 38. And in 2024-25, he missed 20. The trajectory suggests that his healthy 2025-26 campaign may not be repeatable. Factor in that he is now 33 years old, and the honest question becomes whether it's wise to count on him for another full season. The odds are not favorable. The Warriors can almost certainly find a younger player on a similarly affordable contract who projects to offer comparable production while carrying lower injury risk heading into next season. That is a practical calculation, even if the emotional side of the equation points in a different direction for a player like Payton, who has given a great deal to this franchise over the years. Beyond these 2 roster decisions, Kerr's comments signal something bigger about Golden State's offseason direction. The front office must take his word seriously and build the roster accordingly. According to ESPN's Anthony Slater, the Warriors need more what he called mid-prime players, athletes in their mid to late 20s who are healthy, hungry, and entering their best years. Some possible bargain options that fit that description include Jordan Goodwin, age 27, Keon Ellis, 26, Josh Okogie, 27, and Colin Gillespie, 26. None of them are stars, but they are available, affordable, and fall squarely in the age range the Warriors are targeting. Last offseason, the team used its mid-level exception on veteran big man Al Horford. This coming offseason, the expectation is that same exception gets directed at a mid-prime player who can contribute immediately without the health risks attached to older veterans. The broader roster vision taking shape would keep the core veterans, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis, while surrounding them with a mix of mid-prime free agents, players on rookie deals like Brandon Podziemski and Will Richard, and incoming draft picks. The goal is to avoid having more than 5 players in that older veterans category, which is precisely what caused so many headaches this past season. The message from the coaching staff is clear. The direction from the front office needs to match it. The Warriors cannot afford another season defined by availability charts and minutes restrictions. Seth Curry and Gary Payton, too, despite everything they have offered this franchise, may simply be the price of moving forward. The Golden State Warriors are not among the leading contenders to land Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo in a trade this summer, according to ESPN Warriors insider Anthony Slater. In a conversation with San Francisco sports radio station 95.7 The Game, Slater was direct. When trade talks with a 2-time MVP resume around the NBA draft in June, Golden State will not be putting forward one of the 3 best offers on the table. This is a notable development, especially considering how aggressively the Warriors had positioned themselves to pursue Antetokounmpo just a few months ago. Back in January and around February's trade deadline, Golden State was reportedly willing to send an enormous package of future draft picks to Milwaukee in exchange for 31-year-old forward. The Bucks, however, chose to close down those conversations and delay any decision until the summer, when they could evaluate a wider range of proposals from across the league. Now that summer is approaching, the landscape appears to have shifted significantly against the Warriors. Slater indicated that the franchise plans to move cautiously through trade discussions this offseason, and that it no longer carries the same level of urgency it once did when it came to chasing a superstar addition. He also noted that if a trade framework involving Kawhi Leonard emerged that was genuinely compelling, the Warriors would be more inclined to pursue that route than commit the massive assets required for an Antetokounmpo deal. The timing of this pullback makes sense when you consider everything that happened to Golden State this season. In late January, Jimmy Butler, the team's major offseason acquisition, suffered a torn ACL that ended his season. That injury fundamentally changed the Warriors' competitive outlook for 2025-26 and forced the front office to recalibrate. Shortly after, rather than swinging for Giannis, the team instead completed a trade with the Atlanta Hawks to acquire Kristaps Porzingis, a move that addressed roster needs without requiring the franchise to surrender its entire draft future. The structural challenges of making an Antetokounmpo trade work have always been significant for Golden State. The superstar's contract, combined with the salaries already committed to Stephen Curry and Butler, pushes the team deep into luxury tax territory. To make the numbers work, the Warriors would likely need to include either Draymond Green, if he opts into his contract, or Porzingis in a sign-and-trade framework. Both scenarios come with serious complications. Porzingis would need to voluntarily agree to join a rebuilding Bucks team, which is far from guaranteed. And any deal involving Green would reshape the entire defensive identity of the franchise. Beyond the financial complexity, there is a growing school of thought within the organization that pouring 4 or more unprotected first-round picks into a trade for Antetokounmpo carries too much risk. He is 31 years old and has endured an injury-heavy recent history. His legs, in particular, have shown signs of wear after more than a decade of heavy NBA usage. While he remains one of the most physically dominant players in the world when healthy, the question of how many elite seasons he has remaining is a legitimate one, and it becomes even more pressing when the cost of acquiring him could mortgage the franchise's entire draft future during what should be a productive post-Curry rebuilding window. Slater's assessment does not mean a Warriors-Giannis deal is completely off the table. Bucks owner Jimmy Haslam has publicly stated that a resolution on Antetokounmpo's future will be reached before or around the draft. That deadline creates urgency, and in the NBA, circumstances can shift quickly. A dramatic offer from another team falling through, or Milwaukee deciding it prefers Golden State's specific package of assets, could change things in an instant. But as things stand heading into the final weeks of May 2026, the teams more likely to be at the front of the line are those with stronger combinations of young players and draft capital to offer. The Boston Celtics and Miami Heat have been cited as having more attractive packages, and other contenders could emerge as well. The Warriors, for their part, appear to be approaching this summer with more measured strategy, one focus on draft, targeted free agency moves, and potentially a more realistic trade target in Leonard rather than the maximum effort pursuit of Antetokounmpo that defined their approach just months ago. For Warriors fans who've been holding out hope of watching Giannis run alongside Stephen Curry next season, this latest update is a difficult pill to swallow. It feels like the closing chapter on a pursuit that consumed much of the franchise's energy for half a decade. Whether Golden State finds a different path to contention this offseason, through the draft, through a Leonard trade, or through a surprise move nobody currently sees coming, remains to be seen. But the Giannis dream, at least for now, appears to be fading fast. The Golden State Warriors hold the 11th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, and the most likely outcome is a straightforward selection, finding the best available prospect ranked somewhere between 9th and 13th on their internal board. That would be a solid result, and given the talent in this class, there are players in that range who could contribute meaningfully right away. But there are also 3 scenarios that go beyond solid. 3 outcomes that would genuinely qualify as great. None of them are easy to pull off, and none are considered likely by those close to the situation. But none would require a miracle either. Each one is within the realm of possibility if the right circumstances align on draft night or in the weeks leading up to it. The first scenario involved the Warriors trading down to acquire 2 first-round picks instead of 1. Specifically, analysts have floated the idea of a deal with the Charlotte Hornets that would send Golden State's 11th overall pick to Charlotte in exchange for the Hornets' 14th and 18th picks. This kind of move would give the Warriors 2 shots at impact players in a single draft, a rare opportunity for a team that needs to infuse youth into its roster without sacrificing the veteran core built around Stephen Curry. Why would Charlotte consider it? The Hornets currently have 13 players under standard contracts for next season, and even if they decline a team option, they would still have 12 guaranteed spots filled. Adding 2 rookies gets complicated when there is barely room for 1. On top of that, their most pressing positional need is at center. If Spanish big man Ade Mara, who stands at 7 feet 3 inches with an advanced skill set, were fall in the draft to somewhere around the 11th pick, the Hornets might find a combination of size, shooting, and rim protection so compelling that they would surrender both of their picks to move up and secure him. Mara projects as the second best center in this class behind Cam Boozer, and Charlotte knows a prospect like that does not come around often. If Golden State lands both the 14th and 18th picks, the plan would be to target a wing and a point guard. The dream combination could be Yaxel Lendeborg at 14 paired with Ibuka Okri at 18, or alternatively LeBaron Philin Jr. at 14 alongside Dalen Swain at 18. Either pairing would give the Warriors legitimate depth options and multiple young contributors on cost-controlled rookie deals. The second dream scenario is simpler to explain but harder to predict. A top talent falling unexpectedly to pick 11. Right now, most mock draft project prospects like Keaton Wagler, Darius Acuff Jr., Kingston Flemings, and Mikael Brown Jr. to be selected somewhere in the 5 to 10 range, all before Golden State makes its selection. If any of them slip, the Warriors would be in position to take one. Wagler projects as the best immediate fit because of his three-point shooting ability, a skill the Warriors always prioritize. But the name that generates the most intrigue is Mikael Brown Jr. Over the final 11 games of his college season, Brown shot 36 for 89 from beyond the arc, a 40.4% clip on heavy volume. That kind of number, if taken in isolation, would have him projected much higher. The problem is that earlier in the season he shot poorly from 3, finishing the year at 34.4% overall. That inconsistency, combined with a back injury that caused him to miss 12 games and then flared up again at the end of the year, has created real uncertainty around his draft stock. But his physical tools are genuinely exceptional. 6 feet 3.5 inches in height, a 6 feet 7.5 inches wingspan, and a 39.5-inch vertical leap. He is a kind of athlete who can develop into a plus-wing defender and a high-volume scorer in the right system. He should not fall past 10th, but if he does, the Warriors should not hesitate. The third and most dramatic dream scenario is also the least likely, a trade for Los Angeles Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard actually getting done. Analysts covering the Warriors have placed the odds of this happening at roughly 12 to 13%. Not impossible, but far from favored. The key first domino would be Clippers Governor Steve Ballmer, deciding that now is the right time to commit to a full rebuild. That is not an unreasonable conclusion, given that Los Angeles has already moved on from Ivica Zubac and James Harden this season, and received back younger players and picks in return. The franchise is already pivoting. If Leonard truly becomes available, a trade package centered on Jimmy Butler's expiring contract, the 11th pick, and a future unprotected first-round pick would make sense for both organizations. Leonard is one of the small number of wings in the entire league who represents a clear upgrade over Butler on both ends of the floor, and crucially, he is not currently recovering from a season-ending ACL injury. Landing him would substantially change Golden State's competitive outlook heading into 2026 to 27. The condition, of course, is that Leonard would need to agree to a contract extension. Without that guarantee, no deal makes sense for the Warriors. But if the extension is part of the conversation, this is a move the front office should pursue seriously. 3 scenarios. 3 different versions of a better future. The Warriors enter draft night, hoping at least one of them comes true.